I'm here. We've been lied to. Our whole lives, and many lives before that. And it's led us to put our faith in a pantheon of gods that never deserved it in the first place. I'm surprised to hear you say this. It seems...
For once, the half-souled
I've also been thinking. There won't be much left of Theos by the time you're done with him, if I know how you operate. That will leave the leaden key headless. Perhaps it's best it stays that way. Then let's face Theos. When this is... Aye?
Yes?
How may I help? Hmm?
Indeed. Of course.
Margren's fire casts light in dark places.
How may I help?
Yes? Yes?
Full of surprises, aren't you?
Look at that. A city to put all others to shame. And long lost.
Many spirits stir here, edged with anger, violence.
We light our own path now, Watcher.
Charge!
Don't even...
Powers there.
Be cautious. Be constant.
That's it!
Don't even...
I'm here.
If secrets whisper here, I shall listen for them.
You understand the value of a mystery watch. You unravel a thread, Watcher. One you have lost and discovered over generations. And following it to its end has only brought you back to the beginning. A nebula of souls, blind and brimming with potential. The answer to Woodika's question and the beginning of yours. A song the world knows and tires of. The droning In a way. But something must be done, and hurling them from the machinery of other schemes is the truest. No end, Watcher. That is the purpose. None know. They could end up anywhere in the realms of gods or mortals. That is a word for endings, and this is but a crossroads. Even I do not...
Hello? Hello? Wedan Ansawu. Not even slowing it down.
That's not very helpful.
My mind feels sharp as steel.
This isn't working.
Lavaru beyond seek!
Wedan Ansawu.
That's not very helpful. I shall.
Slowly now.
That's not very helpful.
This one repels my...
That's it!
My mind feels sharp as steel.
Slowly now.
Let's see what lies this way. Let's see what lies this way.
I'll see what I can find.
I shall.
I shall be quiet as a calm sea, which...
And what does the flame Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen? I am trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. If you do not, you will have greater powers than me to answer to. But you will answer to me as well. I wouldn't ask this were there any other choice.
This is a missionary, same as I was, taught the wrong things. Alcyone.
You are ready to give a confession?
I'm ready to hear one from you.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here? The Inquisition was based on... They are monuments to Woodika's greatest servants among my people. That woman. It has many uses, but its purpose is to... We are in a sanctuary. What is a god? We are in a... You will return. There are many who continue to spread the lie. How did you find it? Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason. Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. A waste of rare talent and intellect. What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their death. You have devoted yourself to studying the work of my people.
I thought your people had much to teach us. That we too could create great machines, improve our ships.
And did you ever consider that these were things you were never meant to understand? You are living in the time of my people, Amawa. You owe them more than you will ever. Greater civilizations than yours have attempted to reclaim. You built a weapon that delivered exactly as...
I served my goddess as you did yours.
Yet the other builders were slain. 11 of a dozen.
Whatever desire I had to be redeemed in her eyes was weakness.
Or was it merely that your goddess wanted you dead?
A whore's beguiling charms, nothing more. But the spell's broke now, Theos.
You were able to destroy a god because another god wished it. Without her hand to guide you, you could not. I understand your Duke's bell.
Their orders do not absolve me of my greater responsibility to the safety...
Yet you disobeyed. Something you already have a reputation for. They will know, of course.
The parents scold, but the children are safe. In any case, I wouldn't be so smug about my fate, Theos.
State your name and purpose, young Echo.
My name belonged to the gods and my hand to their service.
You serve none but yourself. Without contact with your order, you can have no...
And I should have done it years before.
And that uncertainty would lead you where it leads everyone. You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach everyone, I'm afraid. May you... I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago. I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to you, not to anyone. The gods are real. I have no illusions about the cost. The heart of this country has skipped it. When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that that's where... There was a time, back when your soul... But all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our god's magic. There is no false hope. Have you imagined this existence? The one the apostate would have created. But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mysteries forever unanswered. All purposes constructed from meaninglessness. It is the least of all possible costs. All I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this course. This is the only... We are all controlled by our... With your soul, and... Hear me, Woodika. Roak 10!
Fiery Hoxie!
Artifact worth it.
Rift Ulrika!
My mind. To our seeker.
Ixie and Moby curses.
My thoughts were dull.
We get some sleep.
Artifact.
My thoughts were
Artifact worth and rock!
light has been extinguished. One rebellion.
All those lifetimes spent to preserve a single.
That's the servant down, and the mistress still.
Thousands of souls he has tortured.
In his own way, Theos must have truly.
He spent his lives, more than any of us will ever know. For what?
No! You cannot allow this. You will have no reminders.
You are kinder to that man than I would.
A questionable act. Without his memories, there will be
Let's see what lies this way.
Astounding. I always knew the Leaden Key stood for something big, but even if you send the souls somewhere specific now, who knows what the next turn of the wheel will make of them? We can't really control what happens to them. It's your decision, of course. And whatever...
The end of the road greets us. Would that my own trial had produced such an outcome. I had figured my...
So much for Theos, then. Now you have a chance to set things right. Back to the proper order.
Theos may be gone, but his crime... Yet before you lies an opportunity to heal, to restore. Only through the healing of families, repairing the bonds between... I cannot stop you, Watcher. Nor can I accomplish...
We've come to the end of it, my friend.
Yes?
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun and Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Dyrwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren, or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wideone's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. Lord Radric's zeal had brought him back to life once, but it would not do so again. Radric's destruction at your hands spelled the end of his suffocating rule over Gilded Vale and the surrounding area. In his absence, the village prospered, becoming a popular destination for new settlers anxious to leave Defiance Bay after the riots. Without a nearby ruler, it also grew more wild, with many settlers moving on as soon as they'd arrived, turned off by lawlessness that was excessive even by Dyrwooden standards. Nevertheless, despite the challenges of living there, Gilded Vale had survived, and would continue to survive for the foreseeable future. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But once the dozens had regrouped in the wake of the riots, they quickly put an end to the criminal activity, patrolling the streets in droves and administering their brand of law on any perceived offenders. They also took the opportunity to depose the weakened Knights of the Crucible from their position of authority, branding them traitors to the people for their actions during the riots. Whatever knights weren't stoned to death in front of their keep were forced into exile. The external contingent of knights stationed at Fleetbreaker Castle would remain there, their high justice plotting the city's recapture. The dozens would soon find themselves overwhelmed by the problems of a leaderless metropolis, and in the days and months ahead, Defiance Bay remained on the brink of collapse. Though the machine atop Ter Noaneth had been disabled, it had not seen its last use. Heritage Hill was rebuilt, and no sooner had the first families moved in to resettle the district than members of the Leaden Key, acting under standing orders from their Grand Master, climbed the tower and reactivated the machine. The initiates slew a handful of the new settlers under cover of night, and watched as history repeated itself, the victims reanimating and devouring the survivors. After this second incident, the district would remain abandoned. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay. But those who had escaped the melee in the palace hearings remembered the testimonies of the strange guest who had shown up that day and absolved animancy, implicating the Leaden Key instead. The rumor spread quickly, and soon the popular belief was that the assassin had been a Leaden Key spy. When the legacy had lifted, people came to see it not as a sign that the riots had been according to the gods' wishes, as Theos had hoped, but as a confirmation that animancy had never been the source of the problem in the first place. Deerwoodans instead convinced themselves that the riots had somehow purged Defiance Bay of Leaden Key spies, and that the end of Widewind's legacy was their well-deserved reward. The rage against animancers was quickly forgotten, and those who had survived were permitted to return to Brackenberry Sanitarium and rebuild it so they might resume their studies. In the town of Deerford, an underground cult dedicated to Scan insinuated itself into the town's institutions. It became a popular travel destination for the wealthy, who were actively courted by the town's leadership. But few who visited the town would ever return, as they soon found their fortunes plummeting and their reputations destroyed by their own kin. The fortress of Cadnua became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. After the death of the Master below, a strange quiet fell over the endless paths of Ardnua. The attacks on the fortress above ceased, Ardnua's silent titan the closest remaining thing to a master in its musty, forgotten passages. Pallegina had gone against the Duke Spell's orders by inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfath to accommodate the recovering Deerwooden market. With the Deerwood's people still weakened by Widewind's legacy, the Valian republics easily pushed their would-be competitors out of the market. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Pallegina was banished from the republics. She traveled north in the Eastern Reach, avoiding Valian ports and entering the ranks of the kind wayfarers. Despite her bravery and dedication to those in her care, her strange appearance made her feel like an outsider wherever she went. Adair chose not to return home. Still conflicted as to his role in the Saints' War and unsure of his place in the Deerwood, he took a ship to Adir and reunited with his parents. There, he resumed the quiet lifestyle he had grown accustomed to in his years as a farmhand in Gilded Vale. When the dust settled in Sun and Shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grand Master had gone wrong and what would be required to undo the harm Theos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Theos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. With both their aims fulfilled, Kana Rua bid the Watcher farewell and sailed back to his beloved Rawatai. There, he reported on his findings to the Lore College. Kana spoke of the Engwithan people, describing both their vile experiments and their inspiring accomplishments. He spoke too of the destruction of the tablet by the Leaden Key, and the group's efforts to erase the Engwithan legacy from the world. Both inspiration and cautionary tales, he said, could be found in the world beyond Rawatai's borders. Kana urged his people to continue to pursue knowledge abroad so that the lessons found there might benefit Tekoa. Kana's inability to prove his theory of Engwithan influence diminished his academic standing, but his passion drew much interest from those less concerned with degrees. Kana swiftly became an influential figure in the move toward a more collaborative approach to expansion on the northern continent. In his personal life, he came to enjoy the reputation of an affable eccentric, willing to share grand and impossible secrets, along with a drink and a song. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Dyrwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Dyrford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Dyrwood and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance used Magrin's strength only until Theos had been cast from the world, and then swore off her influence entirely. Regret came to weigh heavily on his mind, and a man who had never previously lacked for words or opinions came to embrace silence and contemplation. He continued to wander, penniless and destitute, searching now not for the reason for his goddess's silence, but for a mechanism for revenge. The charred robes he continued to wear as a reminder that he had been burned by his goddess, and not just by the flames of the Godhammer. Yu and Sagani never found Persoc together. The Adra figurine had gone dark by the time they emerged from Sun and Shadow, and it was another month before Sagani finally accepted that Persoc's trail had gone cold again. Her search took her beyond the Dyrwood and as far as the Living Lands. She saw the great coastal cities of Rawatai and the ruins of Old Valia, absorbing the details of these strange and distant lands. 20 years passed before the Adra figurine finally glowed again. When it did, she followed its signal to a quiet hamlet on the outskirts of Adir. There, she met a young farmer and told her of her past as an elder of Masuk. Sagani returned to a village that had forgotten her face, but remembered her story. Masuk greeted her with cautious warmth, and Sagani found that their ways had become strange to her. She also learned that Kalu had perished of winter fever a few years before, and her middle child, Najuo, had died in a raid. But she found her daughter Yakona a hunter and mother of 3, and her son Malak a builder of mighty walls. In them, she came to find her place in the village, and the familiar contours of a world that had changed in her absence. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead.